Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So today we're going to talk about Turinabol, also known as Tbol. But before we get into Tbol, I have to reiterate to you that I am not a doctor. I am not advising you nor recommending you to use any of the things that I talk about in any way, shape, or form, and this is all for your entertainment purposes only. And whatever you do with this information is your choice and completely and utterly up to you. Now before I get into this video, please spare me, okay? No John Jones comments. I did an entire video on John Jones and Tbol. So, you know, it's kind of like one of those rhetorical things where it's like, okay, I get it. I did an entirely different video dedicated to that. I just want to focus on the facts here. Not why John Jones used it or didn't use it or speculation or this and that. It has nothing to do with this video. This is an information video completely on Turinabol facts. So, right off the jump, it's called Turinabol, but everybody calls it Tbol, so don't get the two confused. It's actually a derivative of Dbol, but it does not aromatize into estrogen. Okay, so it's quite different. It's often referred to as baby brother or little sister of Tbol, but it's got a lot of nice quality gains, a little bit slower, but with far less side effects than Tbol. So one of the things that Tbol is infamous for, all right, was that it was used by the Germans back in the Olympics, all right, way back in the 60s, and it was used to get a competitive edge, and they actually used it in the 60s through the 80s, all right, and I'm sure that many of you are familiar with that. The East Germans actually kept it secret until the 1990s when Germany was unified, and in fact, it's one of the few steroids in history that was developed solely for performance enhancement purposes and not for medical purposes, which many of them were actually developed for initially. Tbol, not the case. Now, Tbol is marketed and sold only by UGLs or underground laboratories. All right, there's no pharmaceutical nor veterinarian production, and it's highly unlikely that there ever will be. So let's just quickly, I made mention of Tbol and Dbol. Let's take a look and compare those with one another. Now, they're almost the same thing, almost. The difference is that there is an added 4-chloro alteration with Tbol that Dbol doesn't have, which then will differentiate the two. Tbol has a 0 androgenic rating and a mild like 53, 54 anabolic rating. All right, this means that there is 0 androgenic or estrogenic activity with Tbol. No aromatization will take place, no estrogen conversion at all. All right, so you can expect nice, slow, dry, steady gains. On the other hand, Tbol is the king of estrogen conversion and aromatization, and users are going to add a tremendous amount of mass in a short period of time, but a lot of it's going to be water weight, and there's going to be far more side effects. Now, Tbol isn't exactly what you call a bulking steroid, all right, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have tremendous benefits and cycles, and since it doesn't aromatize, you don't have to worry about estrogenic side effects, things like gynecomastia, water retention, high blood pressure, insomnia, things like that. No aromatase inhibitor is needed specifically with Tbol, so people that are prone to estrogen-related side effects are going to, definitely appreciate it. Let's look at some benefits. There's going to be results here without, tremendous amounts of weight gain, because some people are not after that. Some people want slow, steady gains, maybe 5 to even up to 10 pounds. So if you're in a sport where you're trying to make weight or compete in a certain weight class, then Tbol is going to be more ideal than a bulking steroid like Anadrol or Dbol or Superdrol or something like that. You're going to have tighter muscles without a puffy look. There's going to be an increase in strength, an increase in lean muscle mass. There's going to be an ability to strongly bind to SHBG, which we know is a great thing because by lowering SHBG, you're freeing up bound testosterone and allowing yourself to be able to make more gains within your cycle. There's going to be an increase in free testosterone, clearly from what I just explained, and there's a lot, I call it more mild, I guess. I hate to say any steroid is mild because they're steroids, they all have side effects, but comparatively to other steroids, it's definitely more mild. So what about dosing? Well, there's a lot of, parity here on dosing. I would tell you don't exceed 60 milligrams per day. 40 milligrams is actually a really good, strong dose of Tbol. 60 milligrams is the top end on where you actually want to be when it comes to using Tbol. Since it doesn't aromatize, don't expect drastic increases. You're going to have some weight gain, some lean muscle gain, and a lot of that's going to come down to how you're eating, what else you're stacking it with, etc. But let's just throw this theoretically out there. Let's just say you're just running test at a moderate dose, 250, 350, something like that, and Tbol by itself. Or even if you're doing the dreaded oral only cycle, which I say dreaded because I don't care for it, but some people do, and some people do get results with it. That's an entirely different topic. So, expect slow, steady gains. Don't expect 15, 20 pounds. Maybe expect, and people that ask me this, look, I don't know exactly how much weight you're going to gain with Tbol. I don't know what you're going to keep with Tbol. I know that the gains are more keepable with something that has less side effects and lower, estrogen conversion. But these are questions that no human can answer. We are not psychics. Everybody is different. What I will tell you is this. It has the capability of putting on 5, 6, 7, maybe even up to 10 pounds, depending on your size. Everybody's got a different response to certain compounds. Some people are really drastic responders, and some people are just simply not. Bigger guys aren't going to see it as much as guys that are more like my size. Bigger guys, they tend to need bigger bulking steroids to see, a lot of the gain they're looking for in terms of size. But with Tbol, you'll see that lean muscle, and you'll still see it and feel it. So don't expect anything crazy, but also expect nice, clean results, which a lot of people are after. Everybody's different on what they want, but generally that's what many people seek. Now, women can run Tbol at small doses. I would never go over 10 milligrams at the most. It can cause virilization at higher doses. All right? There were a lot of East German women jokes, and they're rooted from Tbol use. So be very, very careful, all right, if you're a woman. The half-life's 16 hours, so you can dose it once a day. I've seen people split the doses in 12-hour intervals. Completely unnecessary, but you can. Now, just remember something. There are side effects here. It's still a 17-alpha alkylated steroid. So you got to be careful when stacking it with other steroids, because of the toxicity that's involved. You got your liver, obviously, the first thing everybody looks at. Your kidneys, your cholesterol. These can all still get hurt with Tbol. Just because I said it's more mild doesn't mean it doesn't carry these side effects. And it's also a steroid. It's suppressive. So it's, of course, going to require post-cycle therapy. Just remember something. When I say or anybody else says something is mild, yes, it may have less side effects, but it doesn't mean that you take it lightly. It doesn't mean that you disregard the things that need to be addressed. So, also, I would not exceed 6 weeks of use of any oral unless it's Proviron. So, I would not go over 6 weeks use of Tbol as well. So, my friends, that's Tbol. Here, quickly, because I know I'm going to get asked this. Why would John Jones use it? I don't know. Okay? I don't know why John Jones does anything. Obviously, he wants a competitive edge. Obviously, Tbol's a better choice because it's not going to gain a ton of weight. Okay? But that's all speculative. That answer would need to come from him. Not from me, not from anybody else on YouTube, not from any media outlet. That would need to come from him. Why did you do it? He's never going to admit that he used it. So, I guess the question kind of is never going to get answered, which sucks because I know we'd all like to know, but speculating on other people and throwing stones and things like that, I don't know. I don't do that kind of thing. I know a lot of people out there like to do that. A lot of people like to be their little keyboard warriors and do those things. I don't do that type of thing. I will give you facts like I did on that video about his drug testing and, the possibilities and things like that, because those are facts. But I live on the planet Earth of facts. A lot of people live on the planet of whatever they want to call with speculation, conspiracy, yada, 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 but they don't live in the real world. I try to keep myself reality-based. So, that being said, www.icearms.com/forums. I'm also on the Elite Fitness Forum as well as the Evolutionary Forum. Dylan@icearms.com is where you can get me with all questions and comments. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.